Okay, so let's get started. So just a little bit of housekeeping. The format of the webinar is basically watch and ask questions. We've disabled the audio with the chat window, which is just on the right-hand side here that you should be able to see on your screen. Please ask questions as you go. There may be questions or items that we do not cover in this introduction. However, that there might be a feature or something in particular that you might want to know about. If we do not cover it today, please do get in contact with us on the details which you can see on this screen. We'll also send you a copy of the recording of this webinar as well, so you can re-watch it again at your own time. So, who's this webinar aimed at? So we know that we've got quite a few people on that who have downloaded the 30-day trial. But really it's aimed at anyone who's wanting to know what MindGenius is and how it can help them. If you've downloaded the trial and still evaluating it, if you've been a previous user of versions 4 or below and seeing new features in MindGenius version 5, you'll see that there's a lot of extra new features that we've added in. So a quick overview to what MindGenius is for anyone on the line that doesn't already know. MindGenius is a mind mapping software that really just boosts the way that you and your team can establish and build on ideas. Because it's extremely intuitive, you don't need a lot of technical experience really at all in doing this. We've all been to meetings where we are taking down notes on paper or it's going up on the whiteboard, and unfortunately you either take a photo of the whiteboard and it gets filed away somewhere or forgotten about, or your notes never really transcribe into actionable plans. So what MindGenius and mind mapping allows you to do, it allows you to visualize what your ideas are, components, analyze them, and then put them into actionable items. So across the world, we've got over 600,000 active users. We've got a large support network. We've obviously got dedicated support for Australia and New Zealand as well now. And we've also been mind mapping and creating mind mapping software since 2001. So the key objectives today is to provide you a good sound overview of MindGenius, share on how it's going to be used as a productivity tool and see if it's the right fit for you. We have a lot of small business owners right through to enterprise users, students and school children using it in their day-to-day activities. And we're going to give you some key insights into MindGenius, and we're going to basically be building a map today. For anyone who doesn't manage to get through the whole webinar, or if you want some key information, we've also put a 7-day free course together, which you can go onto mindgenius.com.au, and we've actually put a free course on building a map where we cover some key extra things than what's not covered in today's webinar. So let's get stuck right in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up MindGenius. Okay, so everyone now should be able to see the desktop. Okay, so this is MindGenius. So when you first open up MindGenius, you're presented with the welcome screen. You'll see on the left-hand side here, we have the Map Explorer. We've also got over here a picture gallery, or on some of you, you may have it as a notes editor. So we'll cover this as we go through the webinar. You've got your main mapping area here where all the action and fun takes place here. And on the right-hand side here, you'll see that we've got a resources and maps area. And so depending on what view that you have, you may have it as this, which has got the Getting Started PDF and videos. Otherwise, you may also have it as the maps as well. So before, as we mentioned, we've covered what MindGenius is with the leading mind mapping software. So it's able to basically capture and improve your productivity. Over here, we've basically got the overview on how to choose a new map. So these are some existing templates that you can choose from. For any support, we've got support on the mindgenius.com as well as on the mindgenius.com.au. So essentially, you've got 24 hours support. We've also got a large hints and tips section on both the website and within the software itself. And please get in contact with us either at info@mindgenius.com or info@mindgenius.com.au for any support questions that you may have. So looking at the ribbon, which is this area here, so you'll hear me refer to this as we go through. This is a typical ribbon layout, as if anyone's used to using Microsoft Word or Excel or any software programs like that, you'll notice that you've got general icons up here. And as we go through and click through the menus, you'll see that the ribbons change depending on what we're looking at. We'll cover these other menu items later on in the webinar. So I'm just going to go back to the home for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually load up a templated map, and I'll walk you through a templated map. And then what we'll actually do is we'll build a new map. So on the right-hand side here, you'll see that there are a lot of maps. So simply just by left-clicking once on any one of these icons, you'll see that you'll be given a selection of maps that we've already pre-done. These maps are a collection of maps that we've done over the years and built up that either a user group within MindGenius have presented and they've become very popular, or we've actually created them based on user feedback. So for now, what we're going to do, I'm going to click on a map. So we're going to choose the sales process map. What happens is that when you first click on a map, because MindGenius is very intuitive, the first thing that pops up will be the edit branch window. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually give this a name. And all I'm going to do here is to start typing. And then I'm going to click enter. And as you can see, it's easily changed the name. Now to expand on any of these, of the branches here, you'll see that there's a plus section. If you click on the plus section, it will open up, and you can do that for any of them. That's just simply just by clicking. The other way of doing this is that you can display all levels. So if we want to display the whole map, we can display the whole map. Now by doing that, you'll see that the actual map has now come off the screen. So the working area, it's really quite busy. So what we're going to do, we're going to make our working area a little bigger. So we're going to minimize this Map Explorer on the right-hand side here. So the templates and essentials area. And I'm also going to click on zoom, auto zoom. However, you don't have to auto zoom. You can actually just zoom in and out on the map just by left clicking and holding that slider down. You also have a zoom section on the bottom right-hand corner as well. For now, I'm going to click auto zoom. What auto zoom does, it zooms in on the map on the bit that we're focusing on. Now, again, this map is still too big to work on all at once. So what we're going to do, as mentioned at the start with the Map Explorer on the left-hand side, what we can do is simply left-click once on any one of these, and you'll notice that the working area here is just focusing on that particular area of the map. And we can go deeper if we wish to. So what we're now going to do, I'm going to show you a few different options on adding some branches, because one of the key things to doing any form of mind mapping is having that flow of information to a map. So what I'm going to do here is, so we're just going to add a few items to planning. So I've left-clicked once on planning, and I'm just going to start typing. Now, by just starting typing and not doing anything else, you'll notice that the Add a Branch window automatically pops up. We've done this so it means that just as the ideas are flowing down, you can just keep typing everything in. And then obviously from there, you can then sort it out depending on where they need to go. So test number 2, we may want to drag over to activity. So I'm going to left click once and hold the mouse button down, and I'm going to drag that over to activity until you see this box here where it says move. I'll just do that again just to confirm everyone got that. I'm going to left click once and then just drag that to where you want it to go to. And the same process goes if you don't want it from there and you actually want it back onto this core area here as stage 1, you can simply just left click and drag it back. So what we're now going to do, giving you a bit of an overview of a larger map, and we can come back to this map, we're going to start creating a new map. So I'm going to click on New Blank Map. We'll minimize this workspace. And what we can now do is we can get started. So as before, as I mentioned, a good habit that we get into whenever we're doing any mind mapping is generally I always hit auto zoom, so it's automatically on. Another key area is when you're actually doing any work with any brainstorming sessions or anything like that, is actually being able to use a timer in what you're actually doing. So we've actually built in a timer already into this. So the simple process of this is just left click on it and the timer will come up. Or if you just left click this small arrow here, the actual times, the preset times are already in there, and you can have that counting up or counting down. And then you can obviously change the time just by these up and down buttons. And to get started on that timer, you can then just click play and it will start counting down or counting up, whichever one that you wanted. So let's put some key items on this new map. So we're going to put in ideas 1 and so on. And what I'm going to do, we're going to add in some deeper items here. Now, as you can see here on this example, I didn't put the number 2. So to simply go back in and edit this, I'm just going to double left click and the branch window comes up, put the number 2 in and then click on OK. Now to speed this up, for the sake of this webinar, we're going to copy and paste these through to these other ones. So to copy and paste, what I'm going to do, I'm going to left click on the mouse and you see this box here and these will become highlighted. So I'm going to do Control C and then to paste, I'm just going to do Control V. As you can start to see here, with ideas and different things that you might be doing, the map fills out quite quickly. By having the auto zoom on, it's just continuing to auto zoom that through. Now, once you've got your map or your menu, depending on however you want this laid out, if you come up to the menu area here where we've got map layouts, you can actually very easily change the look and the feel of your map by how it's actually displayed on the screen. The two most popular ones that most people use is this particular layout here and this one here. So this is the map diagram layout and this is the output tree layout. Now what we're going to do from here, we're going to move on and we're going to actually have a look at putting in some images. We're going to color this map now and we're going to further build on this map to essentially give the map a bit of life. We're going to put some formatting and then we're going to cover exporting this map into other programs like Word, Excel, etc. for sharing this map with colleagues. So if we come across to Insert on the menu at the top, what we're going to do here is you'll see that you can insert a hyperlink, an attachment. What the attachment area does it, this allows you to look for a file on your computer. We've already got a pre-built-in gallery, a picture, basically insert a picture from your computer. These two are the same, so either floating text or floating pictures, so it means that they're not allocated onto the map, they're just floating around. A page break is exactly what that is, so if there's a lot of information, so when it's exported, it can make sure that ideas 1, ideas 2, when it exports it, it automatically knows that ideas 1 must be on page 1, ideas 2 must be on page 2, and so on, and not bunching it together. A mental connection. A mental connection is basically a visible link. So we might turn around and say that idea 1 and example 2 are linked together. The simple process of creating a mental connection is click on the first one, and then we're going to drag that over. And what you'll see here is that this text has created a mental connection with an arrow. To simply move this around and restyle this connection, it's just left click once and drag this around. So what we're going to do, we're going to insert some images and pictures from the gallery, and I've got some sample pictures on the computer that we're going to put in, so I'm going to show you how easy it is to put these in. So when I click on gallery, you'll notice that the picture gallery appears on the bottom left-hand corner. Now, depending on what picture or gallery that you might want to put in, so we'll just pick any one of these. So say this picture here is what I want to put for the map. I'm going to double left click, and you'll see that the picture has appeared on the right-hand side in the map. To edit this picture, you can either right click on the picture, and I'll cover this menu very shortly of what this is, or the simplest option is go up to here and then click on edit. And what you can actually do in here, you've got some different formatting options of depending on where it's going to go. To increase the size of the image, we've got some quick buttons here, so you can actually make the image much bigger or much smaller. As you can see, every key option like this, we've made it as easy as possible and as intuitive as possible as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stick a picture in for this one. So I've just located some pictures on my computer. So this is the picture that I want to put in under ideas 1. The same process, you can either double click or you can left click once to highlight it and then click open. And then again, we're just going to make that picture bigger so you can see that. Now already, as you can see, by doing this, if you're presenting this map to someone else, both pictures and the gallery icons can actually really start to bring the map out in a lot more detail. Now, the same also goes if you're going to be putting a hyperlink in. You left click once on the hyperlink of where you want it to go, click on OK, and what you'll notice is that you'll have this little icon appear and that short description text. This is showing the Chrome browser icon because Chrome is my default browser, but if you're using Internet Explorer or Safari, that icon will appear there. And with attachments, attachments are very easy because this also then goes to your computer and you can actually have a look at what attachments are we going to use, and you can go to an attachment and then click open, and then it attaches the file to that, and just by hovering over it you can quickly see. Floating pictures, as I mentioned before, very simple, just the same process of inserting a picture. You just locate what the picture is, insert it in, and then you're able to drag and move this picture around. If you actually want this picture to form part of the map, you left click and you just drag it to where you want it to be, then you see it attach. Now, to get to some of the key formatting of the map, this is where you can add in background images, we can change the colors. So what we've done here is we've put some existing map styles in. So at a click of a button, you can actually just hover over these and you'll notice that the map starts to change color. You can also browse for more style templates. The other option that you've got is that you can completely customize your templates or your maps depending on what you want to do. So for example, with the core, we might turn around and say that we want to change the font of that. So depending on what we're doing with the font and the ideas and how it's going to go will depend on how it's going to view. As you can see here, by changing the fonts, it's changing it on the core. And then the same if we want to do that on, say, level 1. Then click OK, you'll see that level 1 font has changed. If you've got particular branding and fonts that you need to use with all of your work, you can quickly go in and do that. Adding in a background image to brand this as your own or just add a bit of color to it, it's also very easily to do. You just left click once on add edit background and then click on select. We've preloaded some backgrounds in here for you. So for example, you can select this background. However, if you've got a particular company background with a logo or something like that, you can easily add that in as well. This is just simply navigating to the wallpaper folder within MindGenius. But if you do have a particular background and it's in your pictures folder or your documents, you just left click and navigate to it. If you don't have a background and you do need a background, we do offer a design service where we can actually do that for you and put your company logos on, as well as building a map. We've done that with a number of financial advisors and other companies as well, where we've built maps for them, where they've got something called question sets. Before we end, we will cover on question sets. So as you can see here, by quickly adding a background color into the map, it changes the look and the feel of it. If we go back over here and I go back to map styles, it automatically removes it. But then if I move over to the right, it's actually got that map style back in there now. Many key areas, you may want to number each of your items. So you can see here that the numbers have been added in. If I take the numbers off again, you'll see. So just on the left-hand side, the numbers appear. And you'll see that the numbers have appeared through the rest of the branches as well. Auto coloring. One of the key things that we know when doing any form of maps and presentations of maps, physiologically for the brain, it's a lot easier to take it in and remember information when you've actually used different colors to emphasize what you want, including icons as well. So it is good to use the coloring on the map. You can actually auto color, or you can actually color the maps yourself and the branches simply by just going over here to this area for the branch appearance, and you can actually start to change the look and the feel of the branches. You can also change how they're viewed as well. So if the boundary fill here, I put it as black, we might want it in as white. So you can see quite quickly by doing that, you're emphasizing this section of the map more than anywhere else. You can also change the connector styles as well. So for example, if you want a single line, you want arrows, you'll see that this has changed just this particular branch for that arrow. If you want to do it as a site connector type, you can actually change it under connector types here, as well as also map styles in this area where we were before. Another key area is analyzing a map. So being able to quickly add in key information of, say, high priority, medium priority, and low priority. We go into this area of analyze and tasks in much more detail in our project management webinar, but I'll touch base on it now to give you an idea. So what you have up here, you've got already preloaded category and analyze icons that we can quickly filter out. So here you can have it as a high impact or high priority. So I'm going to turn around and say that example 1 and test 1 is high priority. we'll do this one here. And what I'm doing here, I'm simply clicking, highlighting where I want this particular task to be either high impact or high priority. And I'm just left clicking once on those icons. I might turn around and say that this is low priority. Now, what we can actually do to get a quick view of this map, we can actually quickly filter by going, okay, we just want to see all the high impact or the high priority items. And what it does, it actually shades out all of the other items. Now, if we don't want to see them at all, you can actually just left click once on hide non-matches. And what that does, that hides everything else from the map, so you don't get to see it. From this view as well, you may want to share this map with particular team members. So you might turn around and say that all the high priorities would go to team A, or the medium priorities might go to team B. So what you can actually do here, you can actually save the map as it is. You can save it in its current view, or you can actually save this as a linked map. So if you've got a larger map and this forms part of it, you can actually do that just by going through this process here. To clear these filters, you simply just left click once on clear. And you can see that the map has actually come back through. Now, again, there's already preloaded in these priorities here. You can also simply create or rename any of these just by left clicking on create and rename, and this category box will appear here. Now, the next item on the list is tasks. So on here, this allows you to create something called a resource-driven map. We can also go put the map into a Gantt view. This is also where you can put key action items on the map, as well as then sync that with Microsoft Outlook. So anyone on here that's not familiar with Gantt view, it's basically a project management view, and a Gantt chart, it's a type of a bar chart that was originally developed by Henry Gantt back in around the 1910s. And what it does, it basically illustrates a project schedule, and we'll go into that in a moment. Anyone who is wanting more information on the Gantt view after this, please register for next week's project management webinar. This goes into much more detail. So for the basics of this map, I'm going to walk you through. So to add in any tasks, you can simply just click on any one of these, and you'll see the ribbon here will have the start date. You can also then put the due date, and then the end date of when the current action was completed. Now, currently, there's no end date. So we can then put in a priority and complete. So we could turn around and say that this is 10% complete. The priority of this is high. You can also then set this, is this a milestone? So is this part of a bigger project milestone or a bigger task? You can also put in here the duration, so how long will this task take to do, both either in days or hours. You can put a cost associated with this and a particular quantity. The other way of getting into this area here of this view, so let's say you're back on the home page and you don't want to have to keep clicking on tasks, you can simply right click and you get this extra menu that pops up here. And what you can do is you left click once on action properties, and under action properties you'll have the same information that appeared under tasks. So we have the start date, we have the due date, priority, has it been started, unassigned, etc. You'll notice currently in this current view we've only got the general tab. Now when I actually take this map and turn this map into a Gantt view, you'll be presented with this icon, this menu option. And what this is basically doing is it's explaining to you that if you've set previous tasks to sync to Microsoft Outlook, you'll potentially lose them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on OK. and this is the Gantt view chart. So you can see here that there's 1.63 days because I set start date and a finish date of that. You can move these around by simply moving them backwards. Now, if we actually go back to the map in a moment, you can set the start date and the finish date. But if we go back to the map now, what you'll see is that all of the branches have actually been given a calendar view, and they've actually been given this little progress bar here. If we right click and then go to action properties, you'll now see that an advanced tab has appeared. And then this is starting to get into constraints and predecessors. We cover this in much more detail in the project management webinar. For most people, the most users of this starting out, they basically will just use the simple action properties. They don't use the advanced tab, and you'll just schedule the actions with start and finish dates, etc. One of the advantages of using the Gantt view is that you can very simply do a project report. On this, we use this all the time with consulting with clients. We can have key tasks and management options and ideas and resources there, and in a simple click of a button with the project report, what this allows you to do, it actually allows you to very easily see the status of where the project is, who's left to do what, and who needs to still be allocated to do more work, or the tasks need to be changed. Now, to export and share this map, you just simply come across to the export option. So you have a few options here with exporting it. If you're familiar with Visio, Microsoft Visio or Microsoft Project, you can save the map and take it into that as well. So you can see here that this will actually, you can specify start dates, end dates, etc. So you can import and export to that. You can export key information, for example, the Gantt view, into an Excel chart. You can export this into a PowerPoint presentation. So if you're going to be using this for giving an actual presentation of a product or a product launch or whatever you might be doing, you can do that as well. The most popular one is Microsoft Word. Being able to take this into a Microsoft Word document, I'll show you how easy that is. Being able to share this as a PDF, HTML, images, compressed package. What this basically means is that all the files that you've linked and you may want to share this with me, you simply click that as a compressed package. What that will do is it basically gets all of the links, so the PDF documents, images, everything that you've done or linked to this map, it packages it all up into a zip file and emails it to me. So if you wanted me to share with that information, you can. Two other very popular ways of sharing and collaborating with the maps, a lot of users use Dropbox, and we also are able to have this linked to SharePoint, unless you've got a server of your own, and then we do actually also have server editions of this as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how easy it is to change this into Microsoft Word. But just before we do that, I'm going to show you one last key item with this, which is actually adding in notes and information. So for each one of these branches, you may actually want to add in test information, test notes, or actual key information to do with it, whatever that task is. So here I'm just going to type in test notes, and I'm just going to copy and paste this. What you can now see is that this pencil has appeared. If I click on this, you can see that test notes, the notes editor, has appeared here. Now, if you want more formatting options, like being able to bold, italic, etc., what you can actually do, you can actually click on this pencil icon here, where it says dock the notes to the panel below, which is this area. Now, this is extremely useful because what you can actually do is you can format all of your notes and your information straight into the mind map, and then when you export this out into Word or even Microsoft PowerPoint, it keeps all the formatting for you. So it actually saves you less work. So here you can obviously change the size of it just simply as normal Microsoft Word would work. Can underline, etc., change the colors of it. Even if you want to highlight certain sections, you can do that as well. Now I'm going to show you the export option now. When you click on Microsoft Word, you'll be presented with, to export to it, you'll be presented with a couple of options. So it'll give you the option to launch Microsoft Word on completion, so you can tick that on or off. You've got a few different options here of how you export this. You can have the actual image of the map that you've created inserted into Word. You've then also got some different options as well. So you can turn around and say, do we want just the particular view of the map? Do we want the entire map? And here, these are just tick boxes depending on what you may want to share or what you may not want included. I'm going to click on OK. And what this is doing, depending on the size of the map, this will take different amounts of time depending on the export. And what you can see here is that the map has actually been exported in. Now, this is just showing a lot of information to do with the categories Test 1, Test 2. Obviously, I haven't put a great deal of text in here, so you can see here, obviously, under Test 1, that as you would insert more images and notes, that this would be formatted a lot better. And then from within here, you can obviously make any last edits. We do all of a live example of this, of what we use it for, is if we're consulting with a client in a branding exercise, we'll actually use MindGenius, take all the notes down, come back to the office, tweak the map, put all the actual notes into the map, and then we export this into a Word document, make any final changes, and then actually PDF it and send it to the client. And it saved us hours of work, the same as it has with other clients as well. Now, one last key area is your tools area. This allows you to do spell check in here. So you can either do this normal spell check, or you can simply just click F7 on your keyboard, the same as Microsoft Word. You can use word counts and statistics, so you can get a bit of an idea of what's in it. Review mode, so you can flick this into a review mode. Brainstorming sessions, so this will start a brainstorming window. Question sets. So what we've done in here is that if you are going to do a brainstorming window, you can actually use key questions that have already been laid out for you. So these are the most popular ones. You can add in your own question sets, and then from here you can email maps to a friend, downloading the latest version, emailing support, etc. Now, as I mentioned that I would cover question sets before we finished. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to load up a new brainstorming session to show you how easy that is. So a brainstorming session has a slightly different view to what we're currently working in. And what this allows us to do is just take flow of information down a lot easier. Now, on the left-hand side here, you'll see that some question sets have already been loaded in. So we've got who, what, when, where, why, and how. If I want to change these question sets, I can simply just left-click. And what this then has, this has example questions. Sometimes it's very hard when you're in a brainstorming session to start the meeting off with a brainstorming session off, so without questions or a particular agenda. What this allows you to do is actually come straight into this, use some of our existing question sets. Not all of them may be suitable for what you want, but at least it gets the juices flowing a little bit. So what we're going to do here, so we're going to say, what is the opportunity? I'm just going to put in test 1, add an idea. As you can see here, this is linking these questions to these ones that I've selected on here. So it's basically, these are my answers to these questions. Now from this, you can see that this will actually pan out quite big. So you've got all these boxes that come across the screen and fill the screen. What you then want to be able to do, you want to be able to create a different map. So The normal one that we use would be a question-centric based map. We're going to use the entire brainstorming session. We're going to tell it to ignore the ideas that don't have any questions or being dealt with. And then I'm going to click on OK. And what this does, this will then take your brainstorming session that we've just had and turn it straight into a map for you to start working with. So we've covered quite a lot today, and as I mentioned at the start, there may be some key things or items in here that questions that you may have had if we haven't covered them. Please do get in contact with us. So really what's next, if you're an existing user and you do need more information, as I mentioned, do get in contact. If you're still evaluating MindGenius, I do hope that this has answered all of your questions and showed you all the key features that there are. If you are after more in the project management or a specific feature that we haven't covered today and you're not sure whether it's in here, do get in contact with us. We'll be sending you a copy of this in the next couple of days. And thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to working with you, and I hope that MindGenius is the perfect program for you. Thank you.